I'm Nate Brown with Drum Music TV, and this drum lesson I'm going to teach you how to play the song Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf. Make sure that you have the sheet music in front of you because I'm going to be calling out measures, that way you can follow along. I'm going to start, the first part of this lesson is going to cover the intro of the song, that's measures 1 through 9, and also the solo of the song, which is actually in the middle of the song. Measure 58 it starts at, it goes from 58 to measure 65. So get the sheet music out, we're going to start at measure 1. The song starts out with a flam on the drums. The drums kick it off. It's like a pickup, right on count 4. 4. And if you don't know what a flam's when you hit both sticks on the drum head, but one stick hits a little before the other and lighter. So a right-handed flam, your right stick is up in the air, your left stick is low, probably about 2 inches off the drum head. They both drop, but the left one hits just before, the lower one hits just before the other. A left-handed flam, the left stick is in the air, the right stick is about 2 inches off the head, and it's like this. I like to do a right-handed flam because I'm right-handed, so I start the song off with the right-handed flam, and then go into measure 2. Measure 2 starts the main beat for the intro and also for the solo. And I'm going to start with that flam, play it once through for you, just about 4 measures of it, and then I'm going to explain how to play it. Measure 2 starts with the crash cymbal, and you'll see that in this notation there's a little line, and then the actual note head of this crash cymbal is on the second little line above the staff. What that indicates in this music notation is that it's going to be your higher cymbal, your higher toned cymbal, if you have 2 cymbals. If you have 1, just use that 1, no big deal. Drum notation is all different. So in some notation, that might mean what it means here. In other notation, it might mean something different. Usually there's a drum notation key, and this sheet music has one on page 4. So if you don't remember as you're going along, you can look at page 4 with the drum notation key. It'll tell you exactly what everything means. All music should come with that. If it's not obvious, there are some standard things for drums, like the snare drum on the 3rd space up, the bass drum on the 1st space, but it should have a notation key. So bass and crash on count 1. Now the bass drum part, I'm just going to play that measures 2 and 3 together with the bass drum. 1, 2, 3. Kind of goes right with the music. The hands, you just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it together. 2 and 3, 4, and 2 and 3, 4. I'll do that again a little slower. 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 2 and 3, 4. Now again, as I've said in the other lessons, if you look at the beats vertically and look where it lines up, you can kind of get an idea of what the beat's going to sound like. Take a look at count 1 on measure 2. You've got a crash cymbal and a bass drum when you look vertically, so they hit together. The second count has a hi-hat and a snare drum, so we hit those together. Now the third thing written is actually a bass drum, but there's nothing in line vertically with it, so it's going to be by itself. And it happens to be in between the main beat, 1, 2, 3. So it falls right in between 2 and 3. 1, 2, and then 3, of course. 3, 4, and. Last time, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 2, and 3, 4. It's a fun beat to play. Measure 4 starts the same. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and there's where we come in with the fill. 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, and. I'm going to count that again. 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, and. Now it's one thing if I just show you what it sounds like and then you repeat it, but it's another thing if you can actually see it in the music and figure it out on your own in the future, should you come across it in some other notation somewhere. So I'm going to quickly take a look at this. Count 1 is a quarter note, obviously. 1, and the second thing is an 8th note. 1 and 2. Now here's where it gets a little difficult in the reading, and you might look at it and say, what the heck is that? Well, count 2, if you follow the stem of the note, the hi-hat and snare note up, you're going to see that there is one beam or one bar connected to it. Whenever you have one beam or bar touching the stem, it means that it's an 8th note. And an 8th note takes up half of a count. So it's going to take up all the way to the and. 1 and. So here we're on, 2. 2 and. So that little flag looking thing, it's got like 2 flags on it. It's a 16th rest. That comes in on the and. So 2 and. But since it's a rest, you don't play anything. And it's a 16th rest, so it actually only takes up a quarter of a count. So it takes up half the amount of space that an eighth note would. So it's not going to take up all the way to count 3. It's only going to take up to the So we count 2 and That note comes in the If you follow the stem of that note up, you're going to see that there are 2 beams touching it. And when there's 2 beams touching it, that means it's a 16th note. So the 16th note, if you know how to count 1E and a 2E and we know that after the on a 16th note comes the next number, which is 3. So it would be 2 and a 3. Something that's always helped me, a way to think about it, is that the type of note it is only affects how much space comes after it and not before it. Now, what I mean by that, some people see a 16th note and they think that, oh, it comes in earlier. No, it only affects how much space is after it. Now, I just looked at what we're doing with the hands, because in this music, what you do with the hands and what you do with the feet are written on their own separate little rhythms. So an eighth note on the top hands isn't going to affect what's played on the bottom. They have their own eighth rests, their own notes, everything. They're on their own little separate lines, but they're put together into one measure. So the bottom is simple. You've just got an eighth rest. It's got one little dot on it, which means it's an eighth rest. If it had 2, it would be a 16th rest. An eighth note, and they're all eighth notes. So the first eighth note you rest, 1. Second you play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Put the hands together, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. All right, and finally on to measure 6. Measure 6, the same rhythm, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 2 and 3, 4. Crash, 2 and 3, 4 and 2, 3 and 4 and. Let's take a look at measure 9, almost the same as above, at least it starts the same. So 1 and 2, just like before. This time on count 3, you're going to have an open hi-hat. That circle above the hi-hat actually means to open it. So 3, and then you have an and 4 and on the snare. And 4 and. The whole measure again, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. When I play that along with the music, I like to have that and 4 and on the snare kind of have a crescendo, which means to gradually get a little louder. It leads you right into the verse of the song and goes along with the music. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and then into it. I'm going to play the whole intro, measures 1 through 9 for you, along with the metronome at normal tempo. On to the solo of the lesson, which starts on page 2, measure 58. And runs all the way to measure 65. The reason I put the intro and the solo together into one part of the lesson is because the beats are pretty much the same. So it's that same rhythm that you're going to be playing. Take a look at measure 58. Measures 58 and 59 sound like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you can see that it's almost the same as in the intro. We just added 2 bass drums onto the end. 1 after 3 and 1 after 4. 1, 4 and 2 and 3 and. Right at the end there. And 4 and. Now that beat repeats during the whole solo. And usually while the guitar player is playing their solo or while anybody's playing their solo, you don't want to start playing all kinds of stuff on the drums. You want to keep a beat going, okay? It's out of respect. It puts the focus on what they're playing. So normally, not always, but normally if someone starts their solo, you're going to stick with the beat, not play anything that really stands out so that you don't have all this stuff going on. And that's exactly what this drummer does. I'm going to play measures 58 to 65 for you at normal tempo.